first speaker is Quannah Chasing Horse. She is from Alaska and she's super cool, and she does a lot of land work and water work to protect the earth and really just try to protect our way of life. So we don't really like to put any kind of activist titles on us, because it's really just trying to cater to, or like trying to be Ongwehoe or Indigenous to our lands. So Quannah, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Quannah Chasing Horse, Ojri, Hangwichin in Lakota Sioux, Eagle Village, AK, Alaska, and Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. I'm 18, and I'm the head chair of the Gwich'in Youth Council. I really like what you had to say, Makasha, about the activist word. For some reason, ever since I started doing this work, it's always been on my mind a lot, being labeled as an activist. And for me, it was more of protecting my ways of life, protecting the future generations to come. It's all about the future generations and being able to keep living our ways of life without having to fear the dangers and the threats that come with it. Share my ways of life and educate those who don't really understand who we are as a people. And a lot of people don't even know about Alaska Natives. We're so far away from the rest of the world. We're way far up north and everyone's more down south. And I feel like a lot of our nations aren't getting enough, I wouldn't say attention, but just getting enough media, following what we're doing up here. So back maybe in September of last year, I got to go to Congress and I spoke on behalf of my Gwich'in people on a bill called the HR 1146 bill. And it was passed in the House of Representatives, and we're still waiting for it to get passed in the Senate. So this bill was to protect our sacred lands. Our people called it the sacred place where life begins. As Gwich'in people, the border in Canada, in Alaska, it split our Gwich'in people. So I have a lot of family in Canada as well as Alaska. It's really hard for me to go see them. And, it's really hard for me to learn more when I want to learn more when half of my people are in Canada. But, we were called the Caribou people. We followed the Caribou, and we always stayed away from the sacred place where life begins because we respected our Caribou, and we said, this is a place we don't want to interfere with because it's the one and only place in Alaska that the Caribou go to birth their calves. It's the only place they are safe to birth their calves. We have a lot of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes can kill a baby calf along with many other threats. So that is the one place that they go to. And it's really sad to say, but a lot of our native corporations here in Alaska are funding some of the oil industries. And that's one thing that we've been fighting for a really long time. I am the fourth generation of women fighting for this cause. And me being in the Capitol, speaking with representatives, speaking with senators, meeting all these people was a really big thing for us because we have never gotten to use our voice the way we have wanted in the past. And finally, for many, many years of just fighting for this bill to protect our lands, it had been passed. And that all ties into obviously the oil and gas industry, climate change. Alaska is thawing twice the rate anywhere else in the world. I see it every time I go hunting. Every year, the ground is softer. Areas that are not frozen anymore when they were frozen for thousands of years. There's a lot of permafrost melting. And so a lot of the villages along the coast, like the Eskimo villages, the Inupiaq villages, they are all having to evacuate some of their own hometowns and from their ancestral lands because of climate change. Literally, their communities are collapsing into the ground due to climate change. And so that was my big thing too, was, the oil and gas industry are a huge contributor to that. And we have the pipeline here in Alaska, and it's really hard for our Native men to get jobs. And that's one job they always turn to, is the oil and gas industry, because they offer a lot of money, and they pay the villages, or the Eskimos and the Inupiats, a lot of money to be able to drill in their lands. And we think it's really, really sad. And that's one thing that we've been trying to keep out of our lands, is the whole oil and gas industry. So that's one thing that I've been really fighting for, which ties into climate change and our way of life. But, we're the man camps for these oil industries. When they have these man camps up, it puts a lot of Native women in danger in the surrounding communities. It's really sad where they place these man camps with environmental racism. They set them in places where it's really impactful on Indigenous people, especially our women. A lot of our women are victimized, and including our land. Not only is it the land, but it's our bodies.
They purposely set them around Indigenous communities.
They don't want it anywhere else. They don't want it they don't want all that gas and oil. They don't want that around their own communities. They would rather have it, there with those people. And it's really hard, because I've had a lot of family members and having horrid stories, and some of our Native men would come back and not want to work for these companies and industries anymore, because they see how much it's affecting our earth. They see it firsthand. One of my mom's friends came home and said, we had a spill, and they keep a lot of these spills secret. They don't blast it anywhere. So half the time we don't know if there's a spill, because they keep it secret. And if one tiny hole is punctured in our pipeline, it sprays hundreds of meters across our land, and it completely destroys a whole area of our land, miles and miles of our land. So they to keep those quiet, they hire more people to come in and clean it up, when there's of course still residue from the horrible cleanup that they do.
It contaminates everything that touches, from the water to the land and the insects and
the animals, everything. And it's so sad, because you can even smell it when you breathe it. It's toxic. So when I was in DC and I finally got the opportunity to use my voice, I took it. I was like, we cannot have this anymore. This is not who we are as a people. A lot of people need more awareness of these issues. It's happening everywhere. Not only is it happening in Alaska, but it's happening all down in the lower 48, even in Canada. So, I think it's really important for youth, especially these days, to stay woke on what's happening, because, the more we know about it, the more we can do about it. The more we talk about it, the more change there is.